Hello everyone and welcome back to Nerds Fail Me. My name is Chris Kenner and we are playing some more StarCraft 2 Direct Strike. So I've had a little bit more practice since that match where I said I was not very good with Protoss and turned out to be very good with that particular Protoss. But today I am playing as a Zerg. It's a very different kind of Zerg to the one that you would have seen previously. I am playing as Abathur, who is functionally the sort of suicide unit person. So this is my space. So for those of you not familiar with this game type, we've got 3 players aside. I am here, I've got an ally here and an ally here. We each have one of these staging areas that we can place units in. I just placed this Zagara. When the timer in the top right expires, my units will spawn here and walk their way across the map, and my opponents will do the same. And the timings are staggered so that my teammate and I take it in turns spawning, basically. So I am just going to buy that upgrade for Zagara, and then I am going to buy a queen. Can I get a second one down before the timer goes out? Yes! So I have three queens, one of whom is this Zagara monster. So these guys are going to go across the map. You can see my teammate has already been fighting there and has lost his wave, so I'm going to have to deal with these. What are these? These are good against armoured. They are dragoons. And I've got a person with an honour guard. I can't remember which Protoss that is that has those. But I've got that person with the honour guard is the person who spawned at the same time as me, so that's my opponent, so to speak. So, with Zagara, I have a sort of tactic. Periodically she gets for free these things called splitterlings. Those are the suicide units. Those are the things that I want to have lots of, because they will just crash into my opponent and absolutely rinse them. So I'm going to get up to Zagara and 4 queens, and then I'm going to spend the money upgrading to tier 2. So that will unlock more units. Do I have any upgrades that are worth having? Only for splitterlings. I'll hang on with those because I want more units instead. It's important to understand not to spend the money on the upgrades that you can get. These are the upgrades I can get. It's important to understand not to spend the money on those first, because otherwise you end up spending sort of like that guy would normally cost like 100 money, and I could easily spend like 300 on him and it's not worth it. But if I had like 20 of them and then I spent the sort of 200 on the upgrades, suddenly becomes a lot more cost effective. So we're pushing pretty hard onto the opponent's base. We're constantly across their side of the field, which means that we are getting the mineral bonus, the income bonus to go alongside that. But we're not quite all the way there yet. Are we going to start damaging their turret here though? If we can take this down, we get 125 minerals. Will it go down? No, very close, but not quite. So I am going to upgrade to tier 3. I am going to just not bother with the tier 2 stuff. There is some interesting stuff here, but I'm not going to be using it, with the exception of the Spore Crawler, which is an anti-air tower. So I've got 2 Spine Crawlers that I was able to place, and the Spore Crawler. Spine Crawlers attack the ground, the Spore Crawler attacks air units. But once I have tier 3, this is the guy I am after, the Aberration. Because my entire strategy with Zagara revolves around the Aberration. Well, I can get the Medusa Blades, which allows Zagara to attack multiple opponents simultaneously. Okay, so I can place my first Aberration down, and you'll notice I can place it on top of the 2 little splitterlings that I had put there before. I also, on the upgrades tab, I have access to the Bile Launcher, which is basically an artillery piece. I'm just going to get the bonus for that. That'll be nice to have. You can just see it just launched onto there. So, now what do I need to do? I need to fill up that Aberration with 4 splitterlings underneath. Then I need to get protective cover so that the splitterlings survive better. And then there are some upgrades that I want to go with splitterlings. To make them faster, make them do more damage, and increase their blast radius. The thing about these Aberrations, they are very damaging against armoured targets, which includes these dragoons I've been fighting, and when they die they turn into more splitterlings, which can be very frustrating for my opponent to deal with. and they explode in a large area. So if the opponent gets very built up, the Splitterlings are very good at just disintegrating that. And it can unstack my opponent if they have built up a large group that have been surviving for a long while. So my Zagara's still going. You'll see that she's launching like several red lines out now. So that's her Medusa Blades, which is a cool little ability. But these are not my favourite Phoenixes. Okay, there is a way to deal with Phoenixes, and it is Corruptors. Corruptors are basically the aerial equivalent of these aberrations. So I'm going to put my first Corruptor directly on top of that Queen. I had hoped to get more aberrations, but right now it seems that that is not going to be viable. Oh, there are some psionic storms going down from these Archons. That's what that lightning is. That is quite devastating. Do I have any aerial units that can attack downwards? No. Okay, I'm going to have to get... I'm going to put another Splitterling in there, and then I'm going to get more aberrations. I just need more of them to be able to weather the storm. We're losing the middle now. They're pushing onto us. This is the cost of my rushing to tier 3 so quickly. It's necessary for my strategy, and in the long term it will give me the advantage, but in the short term it is very, very challenging. And it does mean that my teammates very much have to pick up the slack, and these Phoenixes are a problem. My teammates are able to deal with them. I am not. Let's take out these poor souls. Go! And the Psionic Storms. It's these Archons. I don't like having those on the field. They are challenging. Let's put another aberration down. Do I have more Splitterlings available? No, I will have to actually buy them. Heavens forfend! Okay, so we are still pushing. We've not been pushed all the way back to our base yet. So we are doing all right. Let me put another Splitterling down under there. I'm worried about whether I'm going to need more Corruptors. If the enemy goes aerial units, I do need them to deal with that. But for the time being, let's get that last Splitterling under there. Can I go for it? Yes, I can get that one fully filled. So now my guys are going to spawn, run across here. How's the fight going? Are they Mirages or are they Phoenixes? I think they're Phoenixes. They just lift things into the air, and it is problematic to deal with. So my units come in. Do I make a noticeable difference? I've cut out a decent chunk there. Yes, these Archons. How best to deal with the Archons? What are they? They are psionic units, so there's not a whole lot that gets damage bonuses against them. But I am, with the help of my teammate, winning still. Let's keep it that way. More Splitterlings to help crash through the opponent. Oh, a lot more Splitterlings actually, I can afford a few. And then more aberrations. And I think actually more Queens would do the trick. The Queens are not solely for dealing damage, they actually also function as healing units. But first of all, I'm actually going to start taking up and getting my ground damage. I don't need that upgrade. My ground armour, sorry, not my ground damage. So that my ground units can take a lot more hits and therefore survive a lot longer against the opposing hordes. And I can right click that to just constantly go at it now. How do I survive against this now? So I've got a couple of armour upgrades. I'm chopping through those pretty well, but then the Archons show up. And those Psionic Storms are so painful. Ow. And I've not done a huge amount of damage to those. I need something else to deal with the Archons. I'm not sure that that is going to be Splitterlings, nor am I sure that's going to be Queens, because they're too squishy. I think more aberrations. I think the aberrations are the thing. They do a lot of damage, they're very durable. They might be able to weather the storms. I don't think that my problem is having the right things, I think my problem is having enough of the things. I have not gotten a second extractor yet, whereas my teammate here has, and this teammate has 3. 3 may be a little premature at this stage, but I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Let's crash into these. I am cutting through this wave, which I believe is... no, that wave is mine. That's the wave I'm supposed to be dealing with. But I'm dealing with the previous wave too much. Oh, and these Reavers, those are going to hurt even more because they basically have very, very large walking bombs that they spawn. Well, my Phoenix compatriot there helped clean that up. Let us get another aberration just there. Don't have another free splitterling yet, but I want more aberrations. I want to be able to take more damage, but this way, this is a Terran commander called Raynor, and he is surviving very, very well to go up against this Abathur player, who is going to have a very hard time. Let's get another aberration there. Oh, that is not a pleasant setup to fight against, because we're all fighting the previous wave, the ones that we're not supposed to be touching. More splitterlings, please. So let's see, I do melt a decent chunk of it, but those psychic storms are actually preventing my splitterlings from doing their best. Where's my corruptor? What ability do you have? The corruption ability does cause my opponents to take more damage from me. But I think I've got enough aberrations now. I think I need to switch away from aberrations. I want to switch to hunter killers. Hunter killers are ranged attackers, and they will sit behind my lines and shoot forward. With any luck, they will do well enough. That's not what I need. With any luck, though, they will do well enough that they will... Let's get my upgrades. That they'll actually help to make the difference. I do have an ability here called Mass Frenzy. This will cause everyone to gain 25% attack speed and movement speed for 10 seconds. If I pick the right moment to use that, like now, it might make all the difference. Or I might have just wasted it. It's difficult to tell. Those Archons are just not going down. Oh. Did that player just leave the game? Well, you're Zenul. I cannot pronounce that. You... Oh, I think it might have been the Terran player. Auriga. That's Protoss. That's this Protoss. I don't know. I think the Terran player may have left the game. Because, like, the name comes up over these units, but not over the Terran units. That could actually be bad for us if the Terran's not been pulling its weight. Judgment calls to be made. Can I afford? Yes, more hunter killers. Let's put them just in that space there for now. So let's see what damage those start to do. You should see their little sort of green shots arcing off. They walk into the storms, I think. Oh no. No, we're pushing in pretty hard now. The Alarak compatriot here is surviving well enough. But when those storms go down... See, ordinarily I'd pick... I'm not even sure that certain aerial units would actually avoid that, but... maybe swarmlings. Maybe swarmlings are the answer here. Just a few spaced swarmlings at the front. The idea for these would be that the artificial intelligence is actually what is controlling these storms going down. So if the swarmlings go in first, the storms go off on those, not on the units I want kept very much alive. More hunter killers, please. Oh, and we took down the bunker. So I'm going to now make take the opportunity to invest into my second extractor. So there's the splitterlings. I'm not sure if that did the trick. We are cleaning up this wave. It's this wave that's going to cause the damage, and by that point the little zerglings will not have survived. I think I just need to crash through harder then. Let's put more splitterlings down. I like the hunter killers, but I'm not going to continue investing in those just yet. Let's just go with more splitterlings, more damage. Let's increase their movement speed though. I don't care about their health. Attack speed. and removing target's arm. They're not going to live long enough to do any of those things. I just want them to be out the front. That is literally all I care about at this stage. I don't want to bother with flyer attacks or carapace because I have like one flying unit. There's not enough flying enemies that I'm having to deal with. I'm definitely right though, it was the Terran player that's gone, so I now have to have my wave adapt to both of the Protoss waves. So, let's see how far I crash through here. I've done it. That was enough to crash through. It's getting to this wave. So my Hunter Killers should be enough to pick off the aerial units, but the Archons... well, the Archons do go down after a little bit, but maybe the solution is yet more Abominations. Aberrations. Yes, those. Let's put more of those down. And just get more of those, because they're so durable by comparison to the rest of my units, which are very squishy or, in some cases, suicidal. Listen, Phoenix is a very challenging Protoss commander to play, so I don't think it's fair to say that that Phoenix commander is struggling. I think that it is just genuinely hard, and if something like what we saw here where one of the enemies quit goes wrong, it can really throw off your strategy. So much as he may not be the most successful at the moment, I don't think that's due to any poor decisions made on that player's part. Ooh, storms. The banelings are dying in there, the splitterlings. Do I set up a second wave of splitterlings? Oh, we're right at the base though now. See, he's cutting through that section very quickly. But now that we're on the base, that base does an enormous amount of damage, as I say. Yeah, 70 damage every 0.36 seconds. That is difficult to counter, or to even survive. Okay, no, I don't have any free ones of those. Let's get more splitterlings in there, and then I will actually go for a back wave of them just on their own, because the aberrations at the front will tank for them and take the damage, and then my back line of splitterlings will hypothetically come in and clean up anything else that's wasted its psionic storms. Archons, you awful, awful things. It's these blue guys. Not very nice. Yeah. Okay, more splitterlings underneath. We are right close to the base now though, and we have been for a little while. What was that? I think it was a warp prison? From Alarak, maybe? I don't know. Well, the Phoenix player's coming in and cleaning up a decent chunk of this. This Warbringer is very, very effective. But these high Archons are just so durable. They have a lot of health. They don't necessarily do huge amounts of damage, but they certainly do enough. Let's put more. I don't have enough for another one, but I do have a free one. In fact, I do have enough to actually buy another one. Now, they're so cheap that you can very quickly get the resources. And then I'll save up and put my backline across. So how do these guys do? No, still the psionic storm's going off on my main units. Okay, well that's interesting to note. Yeah, I think the backline of splitterlings is going to help deal with this, provided they go around the sides. So I'm actually going to invest into more hunter-killers for the time being though, because they can deal an awful lot of damage. I've put you in the wrong place. Put you there. So the fight's over here now. I think the hunter-killers might sit back far enough and survive long enough to actually do better damage against the high Archons. With the psychic storms that we're seeing going out, you'll see them there, going down there and there, these lightning storms. I think those are killing the splitterlings. And if the splitterlings die, rather than exploding on something, they are wasted. Whereas now, because of that, most of that's been taken care of, I'm going to crash through here and there'll still be plenty of splitterlings left. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the splitterlings going down, whereas the hunter-killers are able to live long enough to actually start getting shots off. So I really do think they're going to be the more cost-effective investment here. This has a lot more parallels with business than it does with most video games. Come on, there you go. And let's put my free one. Let's just start sticking those at the back. It is a common practice to have like a little blob of them at the back if you're not playing into the splitterling gameplay with these. Well, I actually do have enough time, hopefully, to get another down there before my wave spawns. Now, I'm going to sort of phase in. You can see I've got a lot more hunter killers in there now. So the aberrations at the front, have a lot of health, a lot of armour. Yeah, 3. And then the hunter killers have the range and the damage to be able to take on the rest. So, ooh, we're on the base now. Oh, that's it, it's going down. It only takes a second at the end of the game. Okay, so how did we do? Okay, the Alarak player did do more than me, quite significantly. I didn't do too badly. You'll notice the damage taken is significantly lower though. That's because of the suicide units. And the Phoenix player did very well against, yeah, you can see why the Terran player left. They just weren't putting out the damage or able to withstand it. And then the 2 Protoss players, I think, is that Artanis? I don't know. But yeah, so another game down. I've learnt a little bit more. I'm getting gradually better. So thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!